Welcome back to the Den, everyone. My name is Steve. Today, we'll be doing a breakdown of Episode 10 of Star Wars The Bad Batch, Common Ground. Be sure to like and subscribe for updates on future episodes. This episode was a break from the super intense, high-flying action that we've seen in the last couple episodes, and to be honest, I'm more than okay with that. It didn't seem like the stakes were too high in this one, and sometimes it's nice to have a little break like that. This episode was called Common Ground, which actually has a double meaning here. The Bad Batch needed to find a way to work with a former separatist, and Omega needed to find a way to work with Hunter to get them both on the same page and get her back on the missions. I think this could also apply to Sid and Omega in this episode, where they need to find a common ground where she can be of use. We open on Raxus, a planet first shown in Season 3, Episode 10 of The Clone Wars, Heroes on Both Sides. In that episode, we see Padme meet with her former friend and mentor, Mina Bonteri from Onderon, as they try to negotiate a peace deal between the Separatists and the Republic. We open on an Imperial captain giving a speech to a crowd of people, and the senator from Raxus behind her. The senator says that he can't go through with this, and he won't be a puppet for the Empire, so he speaks out against them. This is also mirroring how there is no common ground with the Empire, how it's either you side with them or you're against them. After his arrest, there's some dissent among the citizens. We see 3 ATTEs come in, but they've been stripped of their red markings to demonstrate that they're now a part of the Empire, similar to the Venators at the end of Revenge of the Sith. The Senator's droid is an RA-7 unit, a pretty common type of protocol droid that we see in Star Wars all the way back to Episode 4 on the Death Star. The droid also uses a comlink that we see used by C-3PO on the Death Star in Episode 4.
Listen to them, they're dying, R2. Curse my metal body, I wasn't fast enough, it's all my fault.
Sid's bar is decorated with the heads of IG droid units, which were often used as assassin droids or any other types of contracted killer. Her computer screens also show the layout of what looks to be a seismic charge, similar to the ones that Boba and Jango Fett used in the Slave One. Though it's unclear really what this means or why they're there. On the way to Raxus, Echo keeps bringing up how much he hates the idea of working for the Separatists, because back in the Clone Wars, he was experimented on by the Separatists, and that's why he has all his robot parts. And then Hunter says that he's always hoped to make it to Raxus, but never under conditions like this. Which, to me, didn't make any sense, because, his team is a special ops team, so it's not like they would be on the front lines for, a war-ending battle. They're able to get in using some clearance codes provided by the droid, which honestly shouldn't have worked at all, because at this point, the Empire should be hot on their tail, trying to find their specific ship. They've already been almost caught on Seleucami, and the clones should have that ship tagged as dangerous. And also, Crosshair is familiar with their ship. They should be on the lookout for this type of ship. And especially since they said that it is heavily modified, it should be pretty easy for them to spot. But nevertheless, the V-Wings, which are also stripped gray, just let the Bad Batch through. The Aurebesh on the door to the Senator's house just reads locked and unlocked. The Bad Batch use an EMP grenade on the clones when they're strolling through the house. This is something that we first saw in the Clone Wars, and they used to call it a droid popper. This sends a shock through battle droids and destroys them, but only incapacitates humans for a short time. The game that Sid and Omega are playing is called Dejarik, which is essentially just Star Wars version of chess. Sid is a Trandoshan, and the 2 patrons within the bar are a Weequay, who is the same species as Hondo Ohnaka, and the other is an Ithorian. And we see him wearing a translator on his neck because his species normally sounds like this. At the end of the episode, in that bar, we do also see Omega beating a Pantoran in Dejarik. The Imperial officer is named Captain Bragg, and she interrogates Singh using an ITO interrogator droid, which we first saw back in Episode 4, interrogating Princess Leia. When Bragg is stunned by the Bad Batch, she falls and drops her comlink, which then starts beeping and sets off an alarm. They escape by grappling onto and commandeering an ATTE, resulting in the second slowest chase scene in the history of Star Wars. First being episode 8, of course. It's good to see the continuing trend of them not trying to kill all of the clones around them, since now that they know that all of the chips can be removed and effectively makes the clones back to normal. The third ATTE then mounts the second one. They managed to get out through some underground tunnels, and they convinced the senator that he should get away to live to fight another day.
Live to fight another day, boys. Live to fight another day.
When they arrive back on Ord Mantell, they see a civilian ride up on a BARC speeder, which stands for Biker Advanced Recon Commando. These were originally seen in episode 3 of Star Wars. I also noticed that there was a little bit of tension between Hunter and Wrecker throughout the episode, like in the beginning when they're still on Ord Mantell, and Wrecker says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, Omega seems fine to me." And then at the end of the episode, when Hunter is berating Omega for winning the money, Wrecker gives him a pretty strong shove. Could they be building this up as something? Hunter and Omega in the end play a game of Dejarik to decide whether or not Omega is going to get left behind ever again. I think the implication here is that she's definitely going to win this, and it's going to teach Hunter a lesson about how important Omega is to the team and why she needs to be kept around. It would have been nice to see this rather than it just be implied by the end of the episode, because it's hard to represent things that characters have learned just through off-screen events. This episode presented itself as a pretty big change for the Bad Batch. The title was Common Ground, and the description was the Bad Batch have their ideology challenged. So going into this, I had really high expectations for them having a real major change in their beliefs. I thought that it would happen when they had to make peace with and really consider the implications of a separatist being a good person. But they never really followed through on that and had a scene where they had to sort of confront that directly. Then I thought that it would be them realizing that Omega belonged on these missions, but it was only Hunter that wasn't really convinced of that in the beginning. And then also, it was actually a benefit that she wasn't on this mission because she was able to pay back all of their debt. Then I thought maybe it would be about Sid learning to respect Omega and give her sort of what she deserves. But in the end, Sid was able to just kind of like use her for the money and not really need much else out of it. Overall, I did really enjoy this episode, but I think narratively it could have done a lot more. This was definitely meant to be a break from the harder and more consequential episodes that we've had, but I think that they eased up on it a little bit too much. Well, that's all I've got. Let me know your thoughts, or if you found any other Easter eggs that I missed, down in the comments below. Thanks. See you next time.